On social media, on TV, and everywhere you look, there's one thing everyone's talking about: the coronavirus. There are a lot of scary words and misinformation being thrown around, and we just want to help you understand the situation a little bit better and help you to develop a plan to keep from getting sick. It's especially important for respiratory patients or those with compromised immune systems to take extra precautions to stay healthy. So we're going to go over a few guidelines on how to keep this and other viruses at bay. There's no need to panic, you just need to understand how to take proper precautions that are in line with your own state of health. First of all, let's briefly discuss a few terms that have been talked about a lot over the past few days that may be causing you some anxiety. You may have heard that the World Health Organization has declared the coronavirus outbreak a pandemic. Sounds scary, but what exactly is a pandemic? When a sickness or disease is found in several people within a short period of time, you'll often hear that an outbreak of a certain condition has happened. If the outbreak continues unabated, it's said to be an epidemic. The word pandemic comes from the Greek pandemo. Pan meaning all, and demo meaning people. So a pandemic simply refers to an outbreak or epidemic that is spread to a wide geographic area. If the coronavirus had stayed contained within China, it would have been classified as an epidemic. But as it stands now, it's been seen in 151 countries and territories around the world and is therefore classified as a pandemic, where all people, so to speak, may be at risk. You may also have heard that the state where you live has declared the situation a state of emergency. What does that mean? Well, states have funds set aside for emergencies that are not available for everyday use. Depending on state laws, if the government wants to use certain funds or resources, it must be authorized by voters, state and local councils, or some combination of all those. In addition, we, as citizens, have certain constitutional rights that states are not allowed to infringe upon in regular circumstances. By declaring a state of emergency, a state has the ability to access emergency funds, divert resources, and in some cases, place restrictions upon its citizens that it might not ordinarily be allowed to do. In the case of the coronavirus, for example, states may access funds to set up testing or care facilities, authorize overtime for state-run labs to analyze results, and restrict citizens by shutting down certain events where large crowds might gather, such as a sporting event or a holiday parade. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't be allowed to do any of these things, but since a state of emergency has been declared, they have certain relaxed restrictions and expanded rights. Once the state feels that the threat has been contained, they will cancel the state of emergency, and the state procedures and citizens' rights will return to normal. The term doesn't have anything to do with the disease itself per se, it's just that the state is trying to give itself the flexibility to do what it feels necessary to keep everyone safe. In recent days, the president has declared a national state of emergency. This simply means that emergency funds and resources are now available to help states fight the virus, and that states can ask for the federal government to shoulder some of the financial burden of getting the spread of the virus under control. Now moving on to the virus itself. This may be the first time you've heard of a coronavirus, but they've actually been around for thousands of years. As a matter of fact, almost everyone has been affected by a coronavirus at some point during their lifetime. This is more commonly known as catching a cold. However, some coronaviruses are classified as novel viruses, meaning they are newly discovered and in some cases are more severe and virulent than others. SARS and MERS and the current strain of COVID-19 are all strains of the same type of virus that cause the common cold. But this particular strain is new, and so we're trying to learn more about how it spreads and how to treat infections. As you know, if your body is exposed to a virus, it will develop an immunity to it, at least for a period of time. This is the science behind the flu shot and vaccinations in general. But these novel viruses can become widespread because they're new and therefore no one has developed an immunity to them as yet, and we just don't know all the particulars of how they spread. The new coronavirus, like most viruses, spreads primarily from an infected person through respiratory droplets that become airborne when a person coughs or sneezes. Viruses can also be spread if someone touches a contaminated object and then touches their mouth, eyes, or nose. In the case of SARS, MERS, and the new coronavirus 19, there have also been a few documented cases of the virus passing from infected animals to people. Some people who have contracted the new coronavirus can go for days without exhibiting any symptoms. Some may even never develop symptoms, but may still be contagious. This, of course, makes it tricky to contain. The average time that it takes people to become sick after exposure is 5 days. The current quarantine safety period is 14 days. Because this strain of coronavirus is newly discovered, information will increase and evolve over time. But here's what we know now. COVID-19, more commonly known as coronavirus, is a lower respiratory tract infection, meaning that most of the symptoms are felt in the chest and lungs. When you have a common cold, it's an upper respiratory infection, meaning that your nose is likely running like a faucet or it's stopped up and you're having trouble breathing. When you have a lower respiratory infection, mucus is building up in your chest and lungs, making you cough. If you're battling a respiratory illness or have a compromised immune system, you should contact your doctor anytime you feel ill. But if you wake up sneezing with a runny nose, you most likely just have a cold. However, if you have a high fever and a cough, you could have something more serious such as the flu or the new coronavirus. Keep in mind that this is the time when we begin seeing seasonal allergies as well. If you have itchy, watery eyes, sneezing, and a scratchy throat, you're probably suffering from allergies, especially if these symptoms come and go. Extra precautions should be taken if you've developed respiratory symptoms and have been exposed to someone suspected of having the virus, or if you've traveled to or had contact with someone who has traveled to China, Italy, Iran, Japan, or South Korea. Or you should also be extra cautious if the virus has been widespread in the area where you live. The most common symptoms of coronavirus are a high fever and a dry cough. As with any fever, you'll likely feel a little bit drained, and as the sickness progresses, you may be coughing up thick mucus from your lungs, and in more serious cases, you may even feel short of breath. Some less common symptoms reported are joint pain, headache, and chills. So far, about 80% of people known to have been affected by this virus have had mild to moderate symptoms and were able to manage their symptoms at home for the most part. As of right now, there have been nearly 170,000 total cases worldwide. Currently, there are roughly 86,000 active cases, around 77,000 have recovered, and unfortunately, 6,492 have died. Of the active cases, just under 6,000 have been classified as critical or serious. There's a broad range of severity of the rest, as from asymptomatic to managing care at home to being treated for pneumonia. The number of active cases is expected to rise in the coming weeks, largely because testing is expected to become more widespread. People most likely to develop complications are young children, people over 65, or pregnant women. Those with cardiovascular disease, autoimmune illness, respiratory conditions, and diabetes are also at greater risk. Even if you're not in the high-risk category, be proactive and don't self-diagnose. If you suspect that you may have the coronavirus, call your doctor. Please don't just show up at the office. They need to know that you're coming so that they can properly prepare to isolate you from other patients and so that healthcare workers can take proper precautions. Many doctors don't have methods for testing yet, so they may have to refer you to another facility. In some areas, they aren't testing people who don't meet certain exposure criteria. The tests are still being developed and refined, but if you meet these criteria, you'll likely be given a nose or throat swab. In some cases, doctors may take a blood and sputum sample. You will then have to stay in quarantine for a period of days while you await results. The current estimate from the CDC is that test results will take approximately 2 days. If you're healthy now, how do you stay that way? Well, introverts rejoice. You social animals, you're probably not going to like this. The jury is still out on whether the coronavirus is airborne or not, but a recent study has suggested that it can live on air particles for up to 3 hours after being coughed or sneezed out. The virus can also live on tables, hands, doorknobs, and other surfaces, and people in compact groups are more likely to infect one another. For instance, in Massachusetts, there was a biotech conference from February 25th to the 27th that gathered about 175 people. It has since been reported that 104 of the 164 confirmed cases of coronavirus in Massachusetts have been linked to this meeting. An additional 12 people who have tested positive outside of Massachusetts also have ties to this conference. It just shows you how one large gathering can greatly increase the spread of the virus. These people either contracted the virus directly at the conference or got it from an attendee via person-to-person contact or handling something that they touched. It's these type of incidents that promoted many sporting events and other large group activities to cancel. As of now, the CDC is advising against holding any gatherings of 50 or more. The efforts that we make today and in the next couple weeks are going to greatly impact the spread of the virus in any given area. Social distancing and practicing proper hand washing are essential. If you're in the high-risk group, you really shouldn't be going out at all. If you do go out in public, try to maintain at least a 6-foot distance from others. Remember, it's possible to infect others even without exhibiting symptoms. You don't necessarily have to stay locked in your house. By all means, go for a walk or a drive. Take your pooch to the park. You should simply avoid places where you're likely to be within a close proximity of others or are going to touch something that other people have touched. Limit exposure to crowds in places such as public transportation or in grocery stores or restaurants. Instead of marketing weekly, the CDC is recommending buying enough for 21 to 30 days. Some stores have free delivery or shopping services where you can shop online and they'll gather your items for pickup, which means no standing in line in close proximity to others and no touching shopping carts or credit card swipers. In addition to groceries, remember to keep ample supplies of your medications on hand. The hoarding and panic buying of water, cleaning products, and toilet paper is completely unnecessary. There is no reason to think that our supply chain of basic necessities will be interrupted in the foreseeable future, and this kind of behavior is going to cause more unnecessary problems, especially for the elderly and more vulnerable portions of the population. In order for all of us to stay safe, the people delivering our mail, stocking our grocery shelves, providing health care, and all of our friends and neighbors need to be able to wash their hands and clean their environments as well. Please, only buy what you need and share if you're able. Handshaking is discouraged during this pandemic. Opt for some other form of greeting. Namaste, konnichiwa, or live long and prosper are all great options. Also, keep in mind that since there has been some known animal to human infection, avoid visiting farms, barns, petting zoos, or agricultural fairs. If you do go to any of these places, wash your hands well. It's also important that you cook any meat and eggs thoroughly. Anyway, wash your hands frequently with soap and warm water, rubbing vigorously for 20 seconds. Sing your ABCs, Happy Birthday, the chorus to Sweet Home Alabama, or, simply count to 20. Don't forget the backs of your hands and in between your fingers and under your nails. Be sure to rinse well. Dry your hands with a paper towel when possible. Air hand dryers are fine if you've washed your hands well, but they're not as foolproof as a paper towel. If there are any microbes still left on your hands, the air dryer can blow them back on you or all around the bathroom so others can encounter them. If you're at home and using a hand towel, be sure to wash it every day or two. Microbes love damp towels. But viruses don't generally live on porous surfaces such as fabric, hair, or money, because the small holes or pores in them can trap the microbe and prevent it from moving on anywhere else. Hand sanitizer is another option. Alcohol can be harmful to those battling a lung disease, so soap and water is the preferred method. But if that's not possible, go ahead and use some hand sanitizer. In order to kill the coronavirus, the solution should be at least 60% alcohol. More frequent hand washing and use of sanitizers can dry your skin, so be sure to moisturize so that your skin doesn't dry or crack. Your skin is the first layer of defense against any sickness, and even small wounds are opportunities for pathogens to enter your system. How long the virus can live depends upon the surface. Again, there's only been limited testing on this particular strain, but right now officials believe that it can live for up to 24 hours on cardboard and up to 2 to 3 days on plastic or metal. If you do go out, do whatever you have to do to avoid touching your face, eyes, or nose until you've washed your hands. These are the easiest ways for viruses and other germs to enter your system. Keep surfaces that you touch often clean and sanitized. This includes doorknobs, the remote control, your phone, your steering wheel, computer mouse, kitchen faucet, toilet handle, anything like that. If it's easier, you can use cleaning wipes, but you don't necessarily have to use harsh chemicals. Use of bleach and other noxious substances can be harmful for those with a respiratory disease. Soap and water are much safer and can be just as effective. Bacteria and viruses are encased in a protective envelope or membrane. Bubbles from the soap and friction of scrubbing can break this protective seal and kill the virus. This is also why hand washing is preferable to gel hand sanitizer. Scrub like you're trying to dislodge something sticky. Afterwards, either discard the towel or let it soak in a bowl of soapy water for several minutes and then throw it in the wash. Since this virus strain is new, there have not been specific studies as yet, but hydrogen peroxide is effective in destroying the rhinovirus, so it's assumed that it will kill the coronavirus as well. You can pour it undiluted into a spray bottle and spray it on sinks and countertops. Let it sit for several minutes. It'll eventually evaporate, but if it leaves spots, you can clean with regular surface cleaners or even just plain water. Keep in mind that it can alter colors, so don't get it on fabric if that's a concern. Now let's talk about what to do if you do feel ill. If you feel ill, please stay home, unless you're going to seek medical care. If you sneeze or cough, do it in a tissue and then discard the tissue into the trash. Reusable hankies are not a good idea at this time. You can also cough into your elbow if you don't have a tissue handy. Seek immediate medical care and follow your doctor's instructions. If you're feeling good right now, following these guidelines will help keep you that way. It's also a good idea to give some extra TLC to your immune system right now. Whether it's to fight off this virus or any other illness, it's important to keep your immune system strong. That means no smoking, drink plenty of water, participate in regular physical activity, maintain a healthy body weight, learn to control stress, get adequate sleep, control blood pressure, and eat healthy. Snack on antioxidant-rich berries such as acai, blackberries, and elderberries. Vitamin C is essential to a healthy immune system. What food has the most vitamin C? If you said orange, you're wrong. Though oranges are a great source of vitamin C, red peppers have almost 3 times as much vitamin C as an orange. Papaya, strawberries, cauliflower, they're all rich in vitamin C. Many herbs and spices have antiviral properties as well. Oregano, sage, basil, and garlic can add some flavor to your dishes and bolster your immune system as well. Information on the coronavirus is changing and improving all the time, so we'll bring you updates as they become available. Be informed, be kind to one another, and we wish you continued good health. Please, practice social distancing as much as possible. Even if you don't feel sick or you're not in the high-risk group, keep in mind that you may be infected with the virus and unknowingly pass it on to someone else for whom it might be very dangerous. This situation is changing very rapidly, so be sure to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any updates.